So I'm going to do the arbitrary thing, and then I'm going to change outfits real quick. And it's not a stunt. It's a mental health talk, and I get a little more comfortable. I'm excited that we were able to be here on behalf of Critical Path and Lyrgus and be able to spend some time today. But this isn't really a work talk, so it's okay. I just want to talk to you as cyber operator. The tattooed, the messy, all the stuff in between, from working too many shifts and drinking too many espressos and trying to figure out a way to the other side. You pretty good with that? All right. So this is why I wanted to give this talk. Anybody familiar with Red and Bruce Willis, a movie where he gets the pig? Show of hands. Okay. So the byline behind that is that John Malkovich and Bruce Willis and Helen Mirren, they're in this show about being spies, and they go around and they get to John Malkovich's character, and he finally mentions, all right, I'm going to get the pig, and he goes and gets the pig, and he pulls out an AK-47 because actually everyone is out to get him. But the reason why I mentioned the pressure cooker and I mentioned this thing is because I feel like how we manage ourselves in cybersecurity has a lot to do with how a pressure cooker works. Now, I'm going to date myself, and I do want to show of hands. It's going to be a little bit of audience participation, but when I was a kid, I remembered sitting on the floor in the kitchen, and I would be waiting for the little whistle to go off in the pressure cooker, because that meant that grandmother had the food ready, and the food was always good, and it was always cooked with love. Anybody remember pressure cookers and the sound of that when it went off? Does everybody feel a little bit like, even just in this moment, you time traveled just a little bit, and you feel a little good inside about what that meant? Okay, well, what is a pressure cooker if we take the valve off of it? What if we never let it escape the pressure? What is that? Bomb? Yeah. We don't really want those in cybersecurity. So we're going to talk about the little valve that's on the top of it. Because the unfortunate thing is that, especially being here today, and I'm running into colleagues from CISA, and they were at CISA, and now they're trying to figure out what to do, and then I'm meeting with colleagues that are still at CISA, and they're also trying to figure out what to do. And we have a lot of uncertainty, but the risk isn't going away. And we're having to find ways to solve that, even though there's a reduction in workforce. And to be honest with you, digital transformation is killing us. If I go back just 20 years ago, I think about, and I know that seems like such a long time, but to me it feels like it was yesterday. And we had Patch Tuesday, and we had meetings, and we knew what was going to be coming out because we would go to RSA, or we would go to something, and they would say, this year we're going to have web filtering, and we're going to have content filtering, and I'm going to show you how to connect things to this thing called Wi-Fi. And now it's agentic. Your job might be replaced if you don't know how to write it. Now you need to be a coder. Like, I know last year you needed to be really, really good at building architecture for compliance, but this year we're going to do it different. And I know that we used to call it XDR, but it's going to be something new now. And then in 2 years, after we scared you into learning this thing faster than you could possibly hang on, we're going to need more money, so we're going to create something else that we have to go sell, and you're going to need to learn that or you're not going to be relevant. Does anybody feel that? I feel it. Because here's how this works. We have a prevalence in burnout because everything is always changing except for the pressure. The pressure either sustains or it increases. It's incredibly systemic because we see individuals 18 months, they go from organization to organization to organization. That is the actual time frame that a cyber operator will stay at one organization. The average right now is 18 months, which means they spend their whole career with the grass is greener on the other side mentality to get there and find out that it's not. The other is that we don't always feel like we have the support we need because we don't have the training to explain what it is that we need. We're told when we come out of uni, 4.5, 5 years, and we have a degree, and maybe we even got a master's, and we go in and we get to our first post, and they say, here, have this $40 billion company, don't screw it up. And we would love to share with you the person that did it before you so you could cross-train, but they've already left. So if you could just read the notes that are non-existent, or go through the ticket tracker, you'll be fine. I mean, just rub dirt in it, roll around a little bit. You're totally good, right? So here's the thing. I travel about 40 to 45 weeks a year. It's a lot of travel. I spend a lot of time on airplanes. And I remember less than a year ago, I was working with this organization. They had an incident response case. They were hit with ransomware, and I showed up 2 in the morning, and we sit down in the basement right next to the NOC. And the CISO pulls me aside, and we go into a little conference room where those little, full glass wall, seats 2 people sort of things. Phone booth, but professional. And he says, I was praying for this to happen, but not this. I was hoping that we would have something like maybe a business email compromise, but we didn't want a full instant response IR ransomware. And I was stunned. I looked at him and I'm like, why would you want that? He said, well, for the last 5 years, I've been going and telling them, I need help, I need help, I need help. I need an intern. The intern's turned down, the help is turned down, the support is turned down. There's a list of policies, but they don't really fit in the corporate timeline yet. And I just thought maybe this would get their attention. And I immediately thought about that because I left there about a week and a half later, and I'm sitting in Boston on the runway. And in my head, I'm thinking, what if the air traffic controller felt this way? Like, if the plane, if the Airbus just shears the tail off of that CRJ out there, I just need to get there. I don't want to hurt anybody. But I need light, I need better lights, and I need something to handle fog, and the communications is bad. And if we just sheared the end off of the aircraft and didn't hurt anybody, maybe they would listen. Now, how many people in the room would go, wow, I am all about that direction? I wasn't either. So why do we expect our CISOs to be? That's the thing, isn't it? But then I sat down with him and we talked more, and I said, are you burned out? And he said, I am. I said, how long have you been burned out? I said, for quite some time. And I said, well, are you going to get any help? Who's helping you? And he's like, well, I'm helping myself. And in that moment, something else popped into my head that absolutely just drove me crazy. If you look at the coal mines from where I'm from, we never built a better canary, right? Like, we didn't engineer a canary that would just be more sustainable in the coal mine, so we didn't worry about the people. The canary always stayed the canary. And if I went to the ocean or I went to the lake and I was there and someone got into the water and they started drowning, would I step back and say, no, they got it? Would you ever do that? I mean, realistically, you're sitting on a boat, maybe you got some chicken wings, some hot dog, you got something going on, and somebody's drowning, you're like, no, we're good. I'm sure they'll get themselves out of it. But that's the approach we take with burnout. And I've never quite figured out why we feel that a drowning person is somehow going to undrown themselves. Think about that for a second, because that's the thing that I want us to change. But the thing about solving burnout is that we have to understand the quantification of it, because I can tell you, when I go into boardrooms as a frac CISO or a field CISO and I say, listen, you need to solve this problem, they look at me and say, well, what do you mean? How do we solve it? What does it cost? What does it mean if someone's burned out? Do we just give them more time? Maybe we bring them some pizza on Friday. Pizza fixes everything. And if pizza doesn't work, then we'll come back on Friday, the next Friday, and we'll bring tacos. Or maybe tater tots, because to be honest with you, I've never eaten tater tots and been sad. Has anybody else ever had a tater tot and they're like, man, I just feel really down on myself right now? Never happened. But it does cost. So at the end of this today, I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you a way to quantify it. Because many of us don't actually intend to become CISOs. I spent a lot of time in critical infrastructure with EMCs, co-ops, power companies. And believe it or not, most of the CISOs that are actually in that role, they've never been in a technical role in their entire life. They're actually a CFO. They worked in finance. And the finance regulatory compliance sheets that they had to go through, well, they had cybersecurity questions in them too. So now the chief finance officer becomes the CISO, and they're trying to lean on the 1.5 person, they got an intern, 1.5 people to backfill the technical knowledge that they don't have. And with this, they're still working those multiple roles. That's really, really hard to do, trying to be a risk on this side and financial risk on this side, but that's where we're landing. Here's a little pro tip, by the way. For any of you that have not been a CISO or you're getting to an organization, it's your first 90 days. The first thing that I ever do when I go into an organization where I've got to be a CISO is I take the attorneys or general counsel out to lunch. I always take them out to lunch. I only take them out for an hour because they charge a lot of money. However, they've made an entire career out of arguing. And they know exactly how to argue in the right way to get the board's attention. They know how to communicate risk, because you can't communicate risk in, I just received my 4th Fortinet 0 day for the week, and I need some downtime. Or there's this brand new threat called Typhoon, Volt Typhoon, Salt Typhoon, and they're sitting there going, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. The attorneys are really, really good at sitting down with you and saying, listen, let me draw some questions out of you. Why should we care about Volt Typhoon? And they'll walk you through that process so that you can learn how to make those reps and get to the other side of it. Because most of them feel it in their head, and they develop this thing called imposter syndrome. Show of hands, who knows what imposter syndrome is? How many of you feel like you're good enough to have it? Sorry. But it's true, right? I mean, what I find so amazing about imposter syndrome is how easy we get it and how it manifests right here in our offices. And something that's even more interesting is how imposter syndrome and burnout actually infects the entire team. If you're in a team of 6 people and you're in battle together every single day, and one starts burning out and we don't care for them, that starts to move to a second, to a third, and to a fourth, and to a fifth. This becomes a really big problem, because when there is an incident and we have to recover it in a very short amount of time, I need all of the knowledge that's in those people's heads. But they're gone. Like when I sit down on the first day, the same people are not there the second day. They don't stay anymore. Many are remote workers and they just forgot to log in. So it's a thing, because here's the evolution, and I really want to spend some time with this one because we need to understand it if we're going to fix it. So I'm a brand new cybersecurity operator. I just got out of college, or I just got out of service, and I have my first role. And I show up, and I have 4 people on my team that have been here for 10 years. So I work really, really hard to get 10 years of experience in 1 year. Now, I spoke to a commanding officer in the Canadian Armed Forces about 3 weeks ago, and he was asked a question in front of me: how long does it take for a junior operator to get 10 years of experience? And I loved him. I mean, because he was so kind how he answered. He said, well, I would guess it would be 10 years. But the expectation is that our new people are going to get up to speed really, really quick, so they work really hard. And then imposter syndrome starts to set in because they don't feel like they're doing enough, even though they're still here, which is enough. They feel like they're not good enough to be here, so they work even harder. Now, how do you overachieve? You overexert. right? I mean, the only way that you're going to overachieve what you're going to achieve anyway is to exert more, which starts in burning out. Until we get to burnout, and then burnout actually validates every thought they originally had, which they are not good enough to be here. Because if they were good enough to be here, they wouldn't have burned out. They don't come back. I do not know anyone that left cybersecurity for 3 years and said, you know what, I want some more of that. Most of them follow the 3 B's: bourbon, brisket, or beekeeper. Check it out, it's statistically true. And if you look around, a lot of people that actually leave cybersecurity, they're beekeepers. They might work at a brewery if you want to add a 4th beer to it, or a 4th bee to it, or they're beekeepers. But that's not a real expectation, because this isn't an easy job. So what I like to share with new people when they come in is that, listen, you don't know where you're going to be, you don't know what you're going to fit into, you don't know what your performance is going to be until we get a year into this thing. You have to take the time, because how long does it take to get 10 years of experience? Okay, I almost heard you. That's good. But here's the problem, mentioning a lot of them. This is a really, really common issue in people you wouldn't expect. So Natalie Portman, holy cow, Natalie Portman, brilliant actress, her entire life, goes to Harvard. Just didn't think I was smart enough. If I open my mouth, they would know that I'm a dumb actress. Maya Angelou. Just take a moment with this one. Maya Angelou, probably the best literary poet I've ever known. 11 books, and she still thought they were going to find out that she wasn't what she thought, or what they thought she was. Tom Hanks. This guy is literally stranded on an island with a volleyball, and he doesn't feel like he's good enough to be there. That was a good joke. Wilson? I should have put a picture in there. You know, I have it too. If I'm being honest, I had it at 2:30 this morning. About 2 in my head, I was like, you know, you've done these things. You've been a lecturer, you built companies, but tomorrow you're going to go into that session at 1:15 and you are going to screw it up. It's going to be the day that you don't get it right. And they're going to find out that you were just lucky. I got out of bed in the hotel, the Hilton up around the corner, and I sat and I went through my slides 3 or 4 times, even though I've given this talk many times. You believe that? It's really common when the world keeps moving and gravity changes and everything you need to know and everything that's expected of you continually changes over and over and over and over and over. And when what you're compared to is not your growth in the race that you're running, but everyone else's race. Because even though you're brilliant at a thing, and that thing is never going to be unnecessary, someone here at a conference is going to tell you, well, that was so last year. You should know everything about AI and agentic. Even though we haven't solved default passwords for 30 years. Holy cow. Darktrace. They moved the solving spam email. I just want to take a second for that one. Darktrace Network Forensics, full-blown AI, goes back to the drawing board to launch email security because we haven't solved that problem yet. But there's a butterfly effect because you don't just blow up your own department when we're in cybersecurity. Like I mentioned, I worked in critical infrastructure. I work with power companies, nuclear, hospitals, a great many things. And if I make a mistake, the mistake doesn't just live in my isolated place. It's not like I can just run a dynamic code analysis against it and solve it. But I want to talk about this thing right here. So I'm going to be an open book with you for a second. Tattoos and all. I have struggled for 30 years, right at, a little more, with post-traumatic and complex post-traumatic syndrome. You'll never see me sitting in a room with my back to the door. You will not see me at a concert without loops in my ears to deaden sound. There's a great many scenarios that you will not find me in. And then when I work with military veterans that come in and work with us in cybersecurity because they have this very special skill set. Get to it next. They bring a lot of those things with them, and there's some good things, but there's some really bad things. For instance, they're incredibly hypervigilant. They've been shot at. They're very vigilant after being shot at. Emotional regulation. I mean, even in the middle of chaos, they are still calm. Pattern recognition for anomalies and resilience and adaptability to thrive under pressure. Now, these are great things, right? I mean, don't we want all of our cybersecurity people to be vigilant, regulated, recognize patterns, and be resilient? It's what everybody's looking for on LinkedIn. It's got to be right. But what does it do? How is that right column sustainable? We have to understand when we're looking for the good that the good doesn't come without the bad, because in almost everything in the world, it's a net. It's a net one way or the other. It's not going to be a positive. It's not going to be a negative, because I don't believe anyone gets into cybersecurity and says, you know what? I really want to be mediocre in my career. You ever work with a scratch that. You may believe that you worked with someone that wanted to be mediocre. Maybe we don't need to get into that right now. I'll give that talk next year. But we're not doing a very good job at coping with it. I'm a member of a ton of Slack teams. I'm certain everyone here knows Slack. Yeah? We good? Okay. You know, out of 10, 11 Slack teams I'm in, only one of them had a mental health channel when I got there. And I don't mean just called mental health. I mean like, go touch grass, go breathe, like go for a walk. It's not a channel that I was looking for that's dedicated to doing Spartan races or CrossFit, though I love Spartan racing. Who doesn't want to jump over fire? But there wasn't one that was focused on that, but in every single one I joined, even the corporate ones, there was one called The Bar, Bourbon, After Hours. I mean, there's an ISAC called Beer, ISAC. I'm a member of it. But 2 in 5 CISOs are admitting that they actually have a problem. Now, those are the ones that admit it. Here's a really ugly fact. Most CISOs have moved away from just drinking bourbon, and they've moved to medication, because medication comes with a permission slip. They go to the doctor, they're showing manifested signs. Their heart hurts, their shoulders hurt. They leave work at the end of the day and they can feel pain in the center of their palms. Anybody ever feel that way? I know I have. I've gone home at the end of the day and my hands hurt from the stress and everything that built up. So they go to the doctor, and the doctor gives them something to fix it because it's a legitimate problem. But they don't use it to solve the problem. They use it as speed tape, duct tape, so that they can go faster until the coping mechanisms aren't working for them, and now they're working for them. Now, I want to walk through this for a second, because there's a lot of bad decisions you make when you struggle from PTSD. You don't always approach it with the proper way of going and sitting down with someone and getting therapy and admitting what your problem is. A lot of it is, I'm going to fix it myself because I'm drowning in the lake and it's what I'm supposed to do. What is the point in time where the coping mechanisms that have been working for you are now the things you work for? Why am I working the extra hours? Because I'm going to stop by the liquor store on the way home and I'm going to get that $150 bottle of bourbon because I deserve it. I earned it. I love bourbon. For the record, I'm Irish. And I love beer because half of me is partially Canadian as well. But there is a difference where you have to understand what's in control of what. And now I'm probably going to maybe alienate myself from most of the people in the room, but I don't believe in unlimited PTO. Just so I know who's going to probably hit me on the way out, does anybody show of hands that like an unlimited PTO? Does it work for you? Okay, I got a couple. Got a few. So here's my problem as an employer. If I sit down with an employee and I say, listen, I want you to have unlimited PTO, how do I know if they're taking enough? How do I know if they're taking any at all? How am I tracking if our agreement is right? I look at PTO as something that my employees have earned from me, that I give them because they've earned it. How do you quantify unlimited? No, there's a caveat to it, because every quarter I will reach out to the managers or directly to the employee and say, you've not taken any time off. Why are you here? You worked 5 12-hour shifts that I didn't want you to work, and you've not taken a break. Why are you here? It's hard for me to have that conversation and have accountability on both sides if we're not going to quantify it. Now, if an employee comes to me and says, listen, I used all my PTO, but I'm going through some things, the answer to that is, I'll see you in a few days. And no, I don't want you to tell me about it unless you want to. I want my employees here for 18 years, not the average 18 months, which means I need them to take their time off. And if you can't tell me how much time they deserve and what they should be taking as a baseline, that's very hard to quantify and hold to. Because, as he said, and I'm sorry, I don't have your name off the top of my head, and pointing, thank you, sir, and pointing is rude, and there's somebody yelling at me right now. But if you have in an organization that they have a culture that you don't take your PTO because the other people aren't taking it, and if you take it, are you not working as much as them? And if there are layoffs, are you going to be the first one to go? I'd rather solve that by saying, you have 4 weeks of PTO, you have taken none, and I'm turning off your VPN credentials. I'll see you when you get back. I love the idea. I don't love how it actually works. The other is that I journal, but I don't journal always in the most typical way. I actually have these things called mirror crayons. Anybody have kids? Okay. Well, they make these things for kids too that are these Crayola mirror crayons, and you can write on glass. Okay, well, I use them too. I wish I had some last night. But about 2:30 in the morning where I'm staring at the ceiling and I'm going, you didn't finish the policy, you didn't finish the sign-off, and I'm going in this endless loop and rumination for 4 hours. It's easier to get up, write that down in a mirror, and then go back to bed, because until you get it out of here, you're not going to sleep. They're $1.49 on Amazon. I highly recommend them. And the other is meditation, but meditation is weird for me too. Meditation for me can be as simple as I sit in the front seat of my truck when I get to the office. I don't have any radio on. I'm not on the phone. I'm not looking at the building. I actually park my truck away from the building because I don't want to watch people coming and going. That interrupts my time and my place. And I will sit there in my truck for 10 minutes doing absolutely nothing but sitting still. Now, if you can go to one of the vendors and they demand 30 minutes to do an AI presentation that's never going to help you, you can take 10 minutes, right? Okay, so I saw some of the people that like unlimited PTO just laugh at that, so I feel like I'm not as much in harm's way. But here's the thing. You know, if you tell people and they do it, or you tell yourself and you do it, that you need to ask for help, that's the last time you're going to fight alone. I don't know anyone in cybersecurity that if I walked up to them right now, like I met Paul Melson, VP of Cybersecurity in the hallway, we've been friends for 10 years. I don't know any cybersecurity person that would walk up to Paul and say, listen, I need help. I'm getting into burnout. I don't know what to do. And Paul look at him and go, sucks to be you, bro. We're not that way. But something I learned too late, and I'm finding other cyber operators are learning too late as well, is that you just ask for help because it takes a lot of strength to do that. Now, I'm going to anger some managers real quick because nobody's off limits today. I hate open door policies. I think open door policies are total and complete garbage, and I think that most of the time an open door policy is to make the manager feel good about themselves for leaving the door open. Y'all okay so far? Let me tell you what my open door policy and the policy of the best managers and team leads I ever had. They got off of their ass, they walked through the door, and they went to the people that were executing their mission, and they walked up dead stop in front of the person, looked them in the eyes, and said, "How are you doing?" And if they ever came back and said, "Well, you know, I'm way ahead on this project, I'm doing very well," that manager stopped me and said, "That's not what I asked you. I ask you, how are you doing? If you're not good, the work won't be good. I'm not worried about your work right now, I'm worried about you, and I genuinely care." If you're expecting for an employee that's in trouble or someone that's drowning to crawl themselves into a boat or to walk through your office door when they're in trouble, admit that they're in trouble, admit that they're struggling, and then come up with the courage in the middle of all that to ask you for help, your open door policy isn't for them, it's for you. Go to the people that have trusted you with the mission. Or the Jocko Willink, I don't know if y'all know him, but I had an opportunity to sit with him for like a whole 4 minutes, but they were transformative 4 minutes. Because he asked me, you know, what do you believe a highly effective team is? And I said, well, they work really hard and they're very clear on the mission. He said, it's not it actually. A highly effective team is one that's very well trained and they're very well rested. They're ready to go. When I'm in the field, I don't go and manage them by telling them what to do. I don't tell them what to do at all because they already know. We took the time, we were clear. They understood the directive, I understand the directive. I'm just here to move blockers for them to execute the mission. I don't need to tell them what to do. They already know. So this is what I created to help with this, and it is for free. It is on GitHub. Go take it. There are many versions of the MBI. Mossack Burnout Inventory. Is anyone familiar with this? Okay, good. I got one. I got a couple people. We didn't have one for cybersecurity, so I made one. And again, the whole thing is free. The questionnaire, the calculations, all of it. What it is you've got 22 items, 7-point frequency, 0 to 6, and that is your purpose. That's what it's here for. But also, what does it cost? Now, it's one thing to know that you have teams that are burning out. Now, I want to offer this as well. Do not administer the MBICS on your own team. You're introducing bias. They're not going to tell you the truth. Have someone else administer the MBI on your team and leave the names off of it. We're not at the point right now where we're identifying the person that's burned out. We're identifying that burnout exists. We get the appropriate departments together to help engage the individual that we need to help, but we don't do it at this point. So you want to have another team come in. And I gave you an administration packet too that shows you how to walk through the entire thing, so you don't have to go and pay like the $400 online. It's free. The other is there's a calculator that's included that will help you understand what the cost is with productivity, sick leave, help claims, all the things. Because that way you have the training, you have the inventory, you have the packet, you have the burnout calculator of do you have burnout, and then you also have a how much does it cost. And again, I would encourage you to go make changes to it, improve it, leave notes. So with this here in place, I would encourage you, please make changes to it. If you find ways to improve it in any way, please contact me. I am not perfect. This is my first step. I just got very tired of sitting in rooms with people that were broken and believed they couldn't be fixed, and burned out and believed that no one cared. And we didn't have a way to communicate the cost to the organization so that we would do something about it. So this is the machete version. I'd love if somebody brought a scalpel. Now here's where we're going to close this out. We have to talk. It took me over 20 years to stand on the stage and talk about this. Everything that was in my head, the directions that I went to try to solve the problems that were the wrong directions, getting to the other side of it, finding self-worth, finding enough confidence to go to the largest conference in my industry and say, hey, I used to be a broken toy, and we can fix it. We have to talk. And we also have to care for ourselves. I know the mission is hard, trust me. There's a lot of weeks and months that I don't remember the last day off. But that doesn't mean that we don't take time to be mindful and help ourselves. And here's the thing about work-life balance, and I want to talk about boundaries. The boundaries are the distance required to love yourself and something else at the same time. You hear me? Boundaries are the distance required to love yourself and something else at the same time. This could be a family member at the holidays. This could be your project. This could be your career. You have to have boundaries. Boundaries are healthy. So many companies will go out and tell you exactly what they're willing to do for money, but very few will tell you what they won't. And we have to be the same as people. I'm going to share a story, and then if there's time for QA, we will. Again, there's a reason I lost the coat and the logos and all the other stuff. About 15 years ago, I went through a really, really hard time. Had a relapse with CPTSD, night terrors, bad coping, trying to find my way to the other side, didn't have insurance, didn't really help. Probably one of the hardest times in my life that I ever went through. And I remember I had a good friend, John. He said, I want you to come up to the house with me. We're going to go ride horses. This seems safe. Never been on one. Why not? So we go and we get on the horse and we get down by this river, and he said, it's on his property. He said, we're just going to sit here for a minute because I don't think you know how. And he was right. About 3 or 4 minutes into it, I'm sitting there, I'm going, what are we doing? He's like, what you apparently can't do, which is sit still. And I noticed, so there's a bend in this river while we're here. And on each side of that bend, it was muddy, and all the grass and everything was pushed down for the first 3 or 4 feet off the side of this bend in the river. And I asked him, I said, why is this? Everything else is beautiful. Why is it pushed down? Why is it muddy? And he said, well, because the problem is when it rains really, really hard, it overflows its banks, and it destroys everything around it. Because it doesn't know any different. Has anyone been to the Grand Canyon? You know the Grand Canyon. It's beautiful, but the Grand Canyon was actually made to prevailing destruction of water on land. It's beautiful, but it's destructive. And he said the water doesn't know any different than to overflow the banks. It's never known anything different. So we went and we got a bobcat and we started to reroute the river. But you know, I went back the next day and almost all of the dirt that we had packed had washed down the river. And the water was muddy, and the water was going back to the way it had already gone. So we packed more dirt. And we went back the next day, and the next day it was a little better and more of the dirt was there. We had to do that for about a week, 2-3 weeks, just to get the water to go in a better direction. About 3 months later, I got on a horse again, still terrified, and we went to that same spot in the river, and the grass was growing on both sides all the way to the banks. Everything was green, it was lush. The water doesn't always know that there's a better way to go. Your mind doesn't always know that there is a better way to go. And it takes time. You have to pack dirt. You start with little things each day. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to go check on my team members. I'm not going to go work on this same project for the 5th night in a row. I'm going to take care of myself. You have to do it in incremental pieces. When you change your teams, you have to do it in incremental pieces. You have to be patient with yourself. You may not need these, but I would appreciate them if you remember them. I don't want to get anybody in any trouble. But if you can just remember 988, I would appreciate that. You might not need it, but you might know someone that does. So with that, are there any questions? Yes. By the way, it's really good to see you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Yesterday I attended a meetup with some cybersecurity experts, of course, and I met someone who just started a startup. He developed a successful app, and I like his app, and I asked him, so you're doing great. How many hours per day usually you spend on this app to work? And he said from 4 till 7. And I thought it's reasonable, it's very healthy. I'm coming from Europe. For us, it's perfect. And people there at 5 p.m., they just close their laptops, they go take time with their families, they take rest.
Yeah.
But apparently I was the only one who understood it. That's 4 to 7 hours. He starts at 4 a.m. and works till 7 p.m.
Yes.
And everyone else in the room, they understood it like it is correct. They just accepted that that's the norm, that 4 a.m. till 7 p.m. He just takes a small break to take the child to school around 7 a.m. somewhere. And I was surprised that for everyone that was normal. For me as outsider, I'm coming from Europe, but that's not normal. So do you think it's possible to build success without exhausting yourself and not giving time to your loved ones, family, all your young time? Or is it worth it to spend your health to build up maybe your not being very efficient, but doing it with more time and more time?
So this is a hard one. I'm sorry, I'm going to do it. Virginia's in the back of the room. I won't point her out, but she's my wife. She gets me everywhere I need to go. She was so kind to come here and be a part of this, and because I was really excited about being here with you today. But I had to sit down with her, and we had to talk about what this commitment was going to be and how long we were going to do it for. I will tell you that building a startup from the ground up is a 5-year all-in commitment. I wish I could tell you that you could just go home at 5, but you can't. I've not seen that work. You have to find the money to pay yourself, and then you have to find the money to pay for the insurance and the other people, and it takes a lot out of you. But like she and I sat down and said, this is how long we're going to do this. This is how much we're willing to give up, and this is why we're going to do it. I wanted to help people. I worked in corporate environment for a long time, and it just didn't work for me. I needed to feel like I was doing more. So I would say, is it possible? I'm sure it is. Am I good enough to do it? I haven't been, and I don't want to lie to you. I would just say that there has to be a time when you look around and say, this is what I'm willing to give up. And make sure that those that support you and love you feel the same way. Yes, sir.
Hi, thanks. I heard once that burnout is not related as much to how many hours you work as the mismatch between what you're doing and what you should be doing, either by interest or something else. You talked about accidental CISOs, and I'm wondering how we could be more intentional, or if there are other paths you think cybersecurity professionals could aspire to that are more a better fit for what they're doing now.
Boundaries. So I agree with that. If I went to work every day and I just did the thing that I was supposed to do, I probably wouldn't burn out. And I've been burned out, by the way. I'm not here to pretend like I haven't been. And I would go in and I would do the things, I just didn't bring any of the passion with me. So I think being deliberate, that has to come from the organization to look at the person that they're trying to shoehorn into a place. And the person that's being shoehorned into a place has to be free to say that I don't think I fit in this. Because I personally believe that burnout is more situational than it is individual by far. Like, I have people that have worked on my teams, and it's not been for them. It wasn't the environment. There's a lot of reasons it could be that way. Just like I worked at great companies, and it just wasn't my place. So I think you can take a person from one environment, put them in another that's best fit, and they'll do great. But I think it comes down to consent, I guess. Yes, sir.
Mostly, I just want to say thank you. I think if you look
Thank you.
around and you look at some of the faces in here, it's pretty clear that your words are resonating with a lot of us. I'm
Well, I'm
wondering,
gonna cry, man. Take it easy on me.
it's absolutely true, and that imposter syndrome, you need to stop with that.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask, though, is that you clearly have more self-awareness than I do anyway. Was there a watershed moment or something that provoked that awareness for you?
All right, I'll tell you the truth. Most people that have a great deal of situational awareness to the degree that I do is because they've lived in environments where they had no choice. Self-awareness for me was a survival tactic. I slept on family friends' sofas. I slept on my wife's mom's sofa. Couldn't go home. Just like veterans go through things that we're just not meant to go through. I think that situational awareness can be taught, though. I think there's too many people that go through situations that they should never have to go through. And I find those that are been through some sort of domestic violence or warfare or some of the things that I went through leads them to be very self-aware. I didn't want to give you a sugar-coated answer. Walking in and giving you something that's nice is not the truth, so I hope you're okay with that one. Yes, sir.
Thank you. More of a comment than a question. On the sidelines, I run a small foundation which supports women who are in residential treatment for mental health and substance use challenges. Absolutely incidental to this. I saw this on the RSA schedule, and I really wanted to attend. First of all, I want to echo this gentleman's comments, and I'd like to offer another round of applause to you for holding this session. These things begin with conversations. Mental health is a highly stigmatized issue, and one of the biggest ways that we can move forward on this and move the needle is just by having conversations, and it starts with people like you offering the conversation. So I would like to applaud you once again for this.
Thank you.
And to all of you who showed up today, this is a big signal that what Rob is talking about today is a very important topic. So thank you all for coming here, and thank you for recognizing this issue as an important one. Last thing I just wanted to offer was something that I've come across in my journey. It's not a free resource, but a resource that is out there, and one of the things that I'm driving with my foundation, it's something called Mental Health First Aid, which I encourage everyone to look into. I took a course in the fall. I'm taken enough with it, and I see the utility of it enough, and the need and the value of distributing this information and how we can, as individuals, contribute to this space and look out for each other in this space. Again, Mental Health First Aid, you can find it online, Google it anywhere. It's about a 5-hour course with about 2 hours of prep work, and you get a little certification in it, but it's highly pragmatic, highly practical, and it will cost you maybe $30 to do it. You can also hire a consultant to come in and train your teams on Mental Health First Aid.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're out of time. Man, some of you have filled my heart, and I came here to help fix some others. So I'll reconcile that when I can. But you could have spent an hour anywhere, and you chose it to be here with me, and I am very appreciative. I'm appreciative of you, and if there's anything I can ever do, let me know.